Hey, Evan.
What?
Do you know what happened at the cheese factory that exploded in France?
No.
There was nothing left but debris.
Good.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engage, a family gaming podcast. This is episode 124, and I am your host, Stephen Duetzmann, as always. This is the official video game and board game podcast for EngageFamilyGaming.com. EFG is a website where parents like myself and my co-hosts come together to give parents and families the information they need to get their family game on. This week is a very special week. Big changes, as I talked about last week. We have a new host. It's my friend, Rob Kalajian from the Pawn's Perspective, or is it just Pawn's Perspective? I can't remember your website's name.
It's a Pawn's Perspective or just Pawn's Perspective.
I got my articles wrong. My bad. And so Rob will be joining us at least semi-regularly. He may not know it yet, but that's what he's doing. That's just how I operate. It's basically podcasting by kidnapping. But that's not all. We actually have a special guest this week. We have Carla Kopp, who is in charge of. Can I say in charge of? You're like the brains behind Weird Giraffe Games, right?
Yeah, I call myself the CTO.
The
That's
CTO?
on my business card.
The CTO.
Yeah.
So, what does CTO stand for?
Well, the regular thing, Chief Technical Officer.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm like the technical part of like all the board game stuff and social media and website.
All right.
All the things.
So you're that kind of nerd. I got it. There's different kinds of nerds.
Yeah.
You're that kind of nerd. And that's fine. So you run a board game company, and you have a Kickstarter that is live right now, which is Fire in the Library, which fans of the website will probably notice was our featured Kickstarter of the week last week. And I thought we'd have you on so we could, because it just was good timing since we're recording a board game podcast this week. Because we're right in the middle of your right in the middle of your campaign, rather. You're at like 300-something%. You're just killing it, and it's in like just getting into week 2. And yeah, so and the game is inexpensive, looks awesome. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet because you're far away. But that's okay. So yeah, I figured we'd talk about it. Does that sound all right?
That sounds great.
Awesome. So before we do that, though, got to do some of the housekeeping. You know how that stuff goes. So before we get too far into it, folks, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for listening. We hope the games you played this past week have been great. We want to make sure our podcast is interactive as possible, so please feel free to reach out to us on social media or email me at editor@engagefamilygaming.com with any comments, questions, or topic suggestions, because like I said, eventually we're going to run out of ideas, and I need you to help fill my head. Before we go much farther, I want to go around the horn. So, Carla, we'll have you go first because you're the guest. You were just at unPub, which is, what's the elevator pitch? It's basically a convention for games that don't exist yet.
Yeah, basically. So it has a bunch of game designers with their games that are in various states of done. You know, some of them, like, I actually saw some games that the designer was like, yeah, I thought of this morning. So it goes from that range of not done to games that are, like, just about actually complete, and they're just doing the final touches on them.
Okay. And were you there with Fire in the Library, or did you have other stuff there?
So I had other stuff. So Fire in the Library, it's play tested. It's pretty much done. Other than the fact that I'm going to get an editor to make words better because I'm not a words person, but there's people that are. So yeah, it needs words or better words. But I was play testing mainly the Fire in the Library expansion. Ooh. Where it's actually probably going to end up to be like 3 or 4 expansions that I just need to actually separate out. But yes. So an expansion that includes tools and additional book types. It was very exciting because people actually liked it. And it was like, well, these were all the rejects. So I'm glad you liked my rejects. And I also had totemic rights. It might just be totemic right now because somebody brought up, well, like, okay, so I'm bad at names. I'm just so bad at naming things. I get games where it's like fire in the library because it's about a fire in a library. It's pretty obvious what it is. So I think I'm gonna call it totemic now because you build totem poles. It's like this set collection rondelle mechanic, rondelle movement based mechanic. And for those who don't know what a rondelle is, it's like
me.
It's this circle thing where each player goes around the circle in a certain number of steps. Like you can move 1 to 3 around the circle, and you just do that one thing of the space that you land on. Is the typical rondelle. This rondelle is kind of unique in that it's not, well, it's kind of a circle. It's actually 4 cards that make 8 different locations, but they move around. Like, so if you have an ability, you can just move the rondelle every turn and make everyone go, but I was going to go there, and now I can't. So, yeah.
Cool.
Like,
so people seemed pretty into it?
Yes, actually, so Totemic, I was very surprised on because I've only iterated a couple times on it. And usually, like, the iteration process, it's like, let's iterate on it 50 times and it'll probably get better, but it won't be there yet. Because like you have to like keep changing and making things better and better and better. And I've iterated I think 3 times, like just changing abilities and trying to balance things out. And it was like, whoa, this is balanced. And people were just happy with it. And I was like, whoa, but is it done? Maybe. Like, that's the hard part, because it's like I thoroughly enjoyed it every time I played, and usually I'm like, I need to change this number, I need to change this, like, this one is more overpowered, or I need to make more player interaction, but, like, I feel like this one had a certain amount, like, enough player interaction that, like, you could annoy people, but you couldn't, like, really anger anyone. Which I feel is the best.
I like that only because my children troll me endlessly in every game we play. I don't know if you have that problem, Rob?
I have that problem all the time. Even if I'm not winning, my kids still come after me just because it's Dad playing. It's notorious. It's just, we play like Dragoon with lay waste games, and they always just have to destroy Dad's dragon. No matter what I do, it's crazy.
Well, that's what dragons would do. That's why I like Dragoon.
Dragoon is a really good game. I knew I was gonna like it just from the map, but getting my hands on it finally, when they sent me my copy, I couldn't just not play it for like weeks. It was tough because I had other games to play, but I was just like, no, I'm playing Dragoon. I guess everything worked out because I didn't have to shut down. But my kids relentlessly go after me. So I like games where they can like nudge me, but they can't just burn my entire village down and salt the fields, because it's tough to compete when you've got 2 kids just wrecking you. My youngest won't do that. She likes me too much. But my oldest and my middle son, man, they just torment me. So, how big of a show is UNPub? Are we talking like a hotel lobby, or is it like as big as PAX?
Bigger than a hotel lobby. It's certainly not PAX.
Okay.
At least I've only been to PAX Unplugged, but that still had a giant showroom, and it had an unpub in itself, which was pretty fantastic. But this show, I heard that there was like 1,000 people there.
That's pretty good.
It was larger than I had anticipated, because they had this grid system for tables. Like, I was on table K6, so there was like A through maybe L or M per chance, and then 1 through 9.
Right.
However many tables that is.
That's a lot of tables.
Yeah, and like we had 2 different blocks, so there was 2 sets of designers for each of the blocks. Well, some people had overlapping, but yeah, like, and there was a number of just playtesters that would come around. Like, this unpub was different than the other sorts of unpubs I've been to, in that they just invite the public in. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just completely free to the public, and the public also gets like freebies and stuff, so it's in their best interest to come and get a free game or two and also playtest people's games.
Rob, we should go.
We should totally go.
I think that'd be kind of fun. Although after some of my previous Kickstarter review experiences, I don't know how many board games I can play on index cards, but we'll figure it out. I have very bad luck with reviewing Kickstarters to the point where I actually can't do it anymore because I've been sent one too many shoeboxes full of index cards, and I'm just like, that's why we do the promotion thing, because it's just way easier. Doesn't cost the people anything, and we still get to create cool content and hear about these awesome games. We just don't play them because, man, I don't know what to do with some of the stuff they give me.
So that's like really surprising for me. Like, I visited a reviewer friend, and he was like, "Hey, let's play this Kickstarter game," and then he handed out these cards with sleeves, and I was like, "What? You could just send like cards and sleeves in a like Ziploc bag?" But I thought you had to have like a box and official cards and stuff.
Wow.
Like, to know that people are sending index cards, like, apparently I'm putting in like way too much work or something.
Well, you'll note that I don't do it anymore. So
yeah.
maybe you're doing just the right amount. Because
I've run the gamut with Kickstarter. I've gotten the box of index cards all the way. I mean, I get a lot of Game Crafter prototypes where people will actually put their stuff in the Game Crafter. But I got Brandon Rollins's Highways and Byways, and the thing came in looking like almost like a professionally manufactured board game.
Now the way, he friended me on like literally everything social media related like a couple of days ago. Like, it was bananas. I think he just went crazy with my notifications the other day. It's crazy the variation between some of them. So now it's just, I make it easier on myself and my kids because they're my playtesters, and they just they got tired of it.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly not complaining about the Kickstarter community. I still think going to unPub would be fun someday. I'm putting it on the list. It's a business expense, right? Right? I mean,
yeah, like that's the best part about having a board game business is being able to expense it.
Yeah, exactly. And since it's for work, that means I get to tell my wife that I should be able to go and she can watch the kids, and it shouldn't be a problem, right? That's not how that works.
Well, you could bring the kids.
I could totally.
No, it would be really helpful if you brought the kids, because like I don't have kids, so like when I get around people that let me play games with their kids, I'm like, yeah, I'll actually find out if my game is for the age range I think it is.
Yes. Listen, you can borrow my kids anytime. You're a little far, but they can hitchhike. It'll be fine. So that was unPub. I'm super interested. Maybe we'll have you back on. Maybe you get a bunch of people that went to unPub together, and we'll all talk about it. Because I'd be interested to have like a more detailed discussion. Rob, what have you been playing?
I kind of had like
other than literally everything, because you play a lot of board games.
I had a cooperative game kind of week. It started off with I headed over to our buddy Darren's house from Geek Fever Games. And played the latest iteration of his Guardians of Asendor cooperative game, where you're kind of like angels coming down to rid the world.
Wait, he's the guy that made that game?
Yeah,
I've been seeing that at CT Fig and BFig for like 3 years.
Yeah, he's been constantly evolving. It's like super streamlined now, and it was really great because we had a victory, which is like maybe one of the 2 times I've played and won that game. It was really cool, and I've been a huge fan of it since the first kind of iteration that I've played. So I got that played. I also got in Wakening Lair by Rather Dashing, which is like a streamlined dungeon crawler. So you have like this line of 12 cards, and you're trying to get up them, beating monsters until this big monster awakens and tries to get out, and you have to kill it before it moves down all the cards. Mm-hmm. Just Rather Dashing does some really cool stuff. It's light, it's quick, it's like half hour. And then I played Professor Evil and the Citadel of Time from Passport Games, which is another cooperative. You have this board of like a mansion, like some of those like a Clue style board. And so Professor Evil has collected all these artifacts throughout time and put them in this booby-trapped mansion. So you have to move through the mansion, disarm traps by flipping switches to get treasures. And every treasure says you have to disarm these type of traps. But there's like a clock mechanism on the board, and after every turn, it'll move. So if you don't get a certain treasure by a certain time, Dr. Evil locks it away and you can't get it. And then he'll also move the board and turn traps back on and lock doors. It was really cool. It's the first time I've played it. Very simple rules, very streamlined. And me and my buddy who played just got absolutely slaughtered. It was just not a pretty sight.
Well, I mean, that's because you're bad at games, right?
I am notoriously bad at games. And I think the only reason I ever win at games is when I sit down with a designer, I flat out tell them, like, if I lose, you get a bad review. And then they take pity on me and they want a good review, so they let me win. But otherwise, I pretty much lose all the time.
I mean, I guess that's. I mean, I've never thought about threatening game designers to try and actually get some victories in. Man,
yeah, I mean, it's the only way I can win. It's just like, if you don't let me win, man, I'm just gonna blast you online. And they, of course, they all laugh and they think I'm joking, and I'm thinking, no, I'm really not.
Okay, so for real, he is joking, Carla. He really is. I just want to make sure like this didn't, because Rob, what you made it sound like, you turned this into a very hostile environment on the podcast. We can't have any of that.
It's family friendly. I was just joking. Except I'm not.
Joking. No, you are. Damn it, Rob. Damn it, Rob. Okay. But I never thought of it. I'm going to PAX in a week or so. So I should. It's 2 weeks, right? I don't even know. I'm scared. There's just so much work.
Not this weekend. The weekend after.
I have so many appointments. It's going to be crazy. Although I'm playing a NBA Jam cross Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time game, so it's like NBA Jam with like laser beams. I think I'll be okay with it. I think it's gonna be fine. Anyway, that's like the highlight of my whole weekend. So I played. Oh man, what the heck is the name of the game? There it is, Doodle Rush. We played Doodle Rush, which is it's a party game from Brain Games, or the people that made Ice Cool. Have you played Ice Cool, Carla?
I have, and I am terrible at it.
Oh, man, I am too. So, do you have the problem that I have, which is I always hurt myself while I play?
Oh, no, I don't do that.
All right, good.
I just, I hit it, and it hits something, and then it goes back to, the place where it was.
That's actually a special kind of bad at that game. I'm pretty close. My problem is I just hurt myself on the penguins. Rob, have you played Ice Cool before?
I have not. I've never actually even heard of it.
Wait, what? It's the penguin dexterity game.
Carla, can you give him the elevator pitch? Because I'm, ashamed. So I figure maybe you can help.
Okay. So you have to go. So there's penguins, and you're supposed to flick them through the doors in this maze thing, so that you get through all the doors before other people get through the doors. And you do it for the fish. But yeah, you try to hit them on the head, and so they jump. But it's so hard. It's some people get it, and they can just make that penguin go where they want it to. But I cannot. But it's fun. It is fun to flick a penguin and to hope for the best.
Yeah. So it's penguins in a high school that is fully frozen. And so you're flicking, it's bananas, because what's crazy about it is the game box is actually 4 boxes nested inside each other that you pin together using different game pieces to make this giant maze thing. I mean, it looks like it doesn't look like a high school, but it's supposed to simulate a high school, right? And so you're flicking the penguins through the doors, and it's set up to allow for some crazy trick shots, if you put spin on them, because the penguins, it's a flicking game, but the penguins have round bottoms, almost the reverse, at the bottom of a globe kind of thing. So they're round on the bottom. So if you flick it, that you can put spin on them, and if you hit them apparently the videos say that if you hit them on the top of their head, you can actually make them jump. And so if you can make them jump over the walls, they can jump over the walls. I have never successfully done this, but it's actually kind of rad. I have it. I'll loan it to you. Because I think your kids would get a crazy kick out of it. And there's an expansion coming. Or I don't even think it's an expansion.
What?
I think it's just Ice Cool 2. I saw it at Toy Fair. They had it set up, but they didn't have it playable. Basically, it is a standalone game, but you can also... It's more boxes with more setups that you can clip together and just make it a bigger game. Or you can play it all by itself.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
No,
like
I think you
kind of
have
game.
to play Jumbo Ice Cool because
yeah.
that would be twice the Ice Cool.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that makes it. I love expansions that are like standalone, but also can be added into the main game, like Queen Domino and now Ice Cool 2. And there's dozens of others, but I'm a huge fan of that. But yeah, I have Ice Cool, Rob, so I'll hook you up because I think your kids would like it.
Awesome.
But my problem is I hurt myself because I flicked the penguins and I hurt my finger, which is really stupid. But so Brain Games, they made Ice Cool. So Doodle Rush this is the game. Every player gets a number of blank cards and a dry erase marker. The cards are the kind of material that you can draw on with a dry erase marker and clean off mostly well. And the idea is you get a card, and the card has a bunch of words on it. And so there's an hourglass, you flip it over, and your job is to draw as many pictures as you can. And the goal is to make them, you want to draw as many pictures as you can, because, and you have a minute to do it, right? And then at the end of that minute, you immediately flip the hourglass over, and then in real time, everyone at the table proceeds to try and guess the cards in front of you, and in front of everybody, really. So let's say I drew like a puppy and I drew a dog, that kind of deal. You could guess puppy and take it, and you get that card. At the end of that minute, you kind of calculate the scoring, and you get a point for every picture that you guessed correctly from your friends, but you lose points for every picture in front of you. So you have to draw well enough for people to actually understand what it is, or you lose lots of points. And you go through that for like 3 rounds, and it is a super fun party game for what it is. They tossed it at me while I was at New York Toy Fair, and I thought it was like, all right, this is just, another thing. It's actually kind of wild because you have to draw something good. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just scribble on the paper. Or on the cards, rather. You really have to kind of try and pick words that you can draw. And a minute is not a lot of time. So you really... so I dug it. It's called Doodle Rush. My oldest son said, why didn't they call it Quick Draw? And we're like, probably because connotation, and also someone else, I am sure, made a game called Quick Draw. So, yeah, that's Doodle Rush. We're going to have a review on it up on EFG probably within the next couple of weeks. We just got to write it up and, do all the normal shenanigans. You know how that stuff goes, Rob.
I am in the middle of it right now.
Yeah, it's nonstop shenanigans. So yeah, that's it. Anybody else have anything particularly interesting that they played in the last couple of weeks that they wanted to talk about?
Actually,
I played one game.
Oh,
let the guest go first.
Yeah, Rob, you can talk about that later. What else did you play, Carla?
So I did play this really cool game at unPub. It was called Lawnmasters of Ganymede, and one thing I really like about it is the story. So Ganymede is being terraformed, and that I believe is one of the moons of Jupiter. Sure. And you are one of like a different companies, like either the water company or the lawn people or the stonemasons. You're one of the factories, and you're trying to make a really beautiful city so that you can win, and your city will be the capital of Ganymede. And I just like that it's weird space, like also with little lawn gnomes and what are the little orbs that you put in your yard orbs? I don't know. I like the mix of...
I think that might actually be what they are called. I don't think they have a fancier name than that. I'll look it up.
Okay. So
carry on. I'll look it up on Amazon.
Oh, it is an unpub thing. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, actual lawn orbs on
Yeah.
Amazon. Yes. So in the game, you are trying to build up your city, and half of it is trying to build up your city and match. Like they have different lawn orbs, birdhouses, and gnomes on each of the little tiles that you match up. And if you match them, you get specific points. But so you match the different tiles and you build your city, and you could also activate your cities with dice if you match the dice and you put them on the different tiles, and you can get resources from every tile that is touching your tile. So it's also resource management, and you can build up your tiles as well to get victory points in the end. Like, and each tile has different victory points, different things on it, different types. Like there's the water, the stone, the wood, and I feel like another one, but I forget what it is. Anyway, I liked the game because I'm really into like weird themes, but it was also one of those things where it's like you can do one of four things and you just do the thing, and it's like so fast, and then suddenly it's your turn again. So you can take a tile, and while you're placing it, the other person is doing their thing, and then it's your turn again. So I really liked that, and like the art was pretty good, like little lawn gnomes in Jupiter.
Listen, I think that theme is fire. I mean, I love the idea of just like decorating your yard like you're a suburban, like middle-aged dad, but you're on Ganymede.
Yeah, it's just like so weird that those two things. Like, I don't think I've played a game about doing your lawn, but like I wouldn't be excited about that. But I am excited about doing my lawn in space.
What do you think, Rob?
I'm completely down with that theme. I mean, I'd probably be down with it like if it was on Earth, because it's just weird enough that it would interest me. But yes, I would totally be extra interested in taking care of my lawn in space.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since they didn't really change what lawns are. Like the fact that it's like gnomes, and by the way, they are called lawn orbs. In case anybody was curious. So, yeah. I mean, the fact that they didn't change how lawns work, they just decided to put it somewhere else, just makes it that different level of absurd. And anyone that knows this podcast knows I like absurd things because, that's how things work. So I think, Rob, did you have another thing?
Oh yeah, just because I'm actually writing up my review now. I've been playing Untold: Adventures Await with my kids, which is the Rory's Story Cube RPG.
Yeah. Tell me all about
it.
And
it's really cool, and it actually kind of is a good segue because the story and setting my kids chose is we're doing a sci-fi game on Europa, which is a moon, and it's in the process of being terraformed. So that's the setting. So there are these above ice and below ice colonies, and it's cool because you've got you basically play an episode at a time, and you have these five segments of the episode, and you're rolling dice and placing them on these recessed areas of the cards, and you can ask questions and take actions, and you're rolling dice to give you ideas, and it's just really cool how it pans out because everybody's creating the story, and we have this story where this meteor is going to crash down on the moon, and we try to build a cannon to shoot it down, and it doesn't work, and we find out it's an alien spaceship. So we go to another colony for help, and we find out that the leader of that colony is a traitor, and she called the aliens there, and we blast off and try to board their ship, and at the end of the first episode we got captured, and all of this is just coming out of play from the die rolls. There's no specific plan or structure. It's just like, okay, wow, this is what's happening, and it's just a really cool kind of like introductory type RPG. And you can use, whatever story. It comes with a base set of story cubes, but I've got some Doctor Who ones we'll probably toss in, and some action cubes, where they're kind of like, instead of objects, they're actions. We'll add those in. And you record every episode on a sheet of paper. So like the next time we'll do episode 2, and the next time we play episode 3, and stuff can carry over. It's just a really, really cool game.
Yeah, I've had my eye on that since I saw it. So I'm probably gonna steal that from you for a little bit. I'll trade you Ice Cool for it for a little while when you're done.
Sweet.
Very different games, but I'm okay with it. We played Marvel Code Words also, or not Code Words, Code Names. Is it Code Names?
I think it's
Names.
It's Code Names. We played the Marvel Code Names game, and let me tell you, this is very brief, but nothing is funnier than playing Marvel Code Names with people who have only watched the movies. Because the board game is very, very much on the comics, and I forgot that I never told my wife what the Scarlet Witch actually looks like. And so, like, they show her in her comic book form, which is like, you know, the leotard with the pink tights and the weird, like, crown thing. Admittedly, I'm curious as to why they haven't put the crown thing in the MCU, because I think that's cool, but I digress. So my wife had no idea who it was, and I was trying to clue her in to, you know, and she just wasn't buying it. She had no idea what was happening. And there was like a bunch of dogs that she had never seen before. I'm like, oh, so you had like Lockjaw out there? And she's like, who? So spoiler alert for those looking to buy Marvel Code Names for their kids. Go over the cards and have Wikipedia up, and then teach them all about comics, because they're going to need to learn a lot, because it gets deep in that thing. Deep. So, I don't know. You guys have played Code Names, right? I mean, I think everybody's played Code Names at this point.
No.
You've never played Code Names?
Well, I don't, for about 8 years now, I don't really buy many board games. So if it doesn't come in for review, I rarely play it unless I play it at someone else's house, and I've never played Code Names, any version.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. You also are allergic to fun, so there's that.
I am not allergic to fun. I'm like the king of fun.
That's definitely not true. I'm the king of fun because I'm the host, and I get to decide who's the king of fun. I'm the king of fun. Carla's the queen of fun, from a different kingdom. You're just the jester of fun. And that's okay.
I can live with that because jesters are fun.
Kinda, but sometimes they're like the villain. Anyway, this is just me being antagonistic because I'm hangry. I just started Weight Watchers, so I'm having a difficult day. So that's it for Around the Horn. We went around and around and around the horn, but that's okay. This is all about giving people ideas about games that are out or will be out soon. So why don't we take a break? We'll breathe for a moment, and then we'll come back, and then we're going to talk a lot about Fire in the Library.
Oh, okay.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to episode 124 of Engage, a family gaming podcast. I'm still here. I'm still your host. We're still talking about board games, and I'm still joined by Rob and Carla. And so we went around the horn, around and around and around, which is fine. But now we want to kind of do our topic for the day. So our topic is a Kickstarter campaign that is currently live on Kickstarter. As of the time of this recording, there's 17 days to go, so you're basically like halfway through-ish. And
well, we're on week 2.
Week 2. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
it's only 21 days, I think.
Oh, it's a 21-day thing? Okay.
24.
All right, so you still got like most of the campaign to go. I didn't know. Wait, you can hold up, full stop. I didn't know you could change the number of days. You can have it be less than 30
you can
days.
have any number of days. You can start and stop when you want.
That's I had no idea. That's awesome. Okay, great. So that means that's another thing I have to pay attention to. I just assumed everything was 30 days. But I was wondering how you went from like starting to 17 days, because this campaign has only been up for like a week, because it was just a little while ago. So now I get it. Time didn't compress. You just only had a 21-day campaign. I feel much better about myself. So you are the CTO for Weird Giraffe Games. So is this your baby?
It is not. Well, it kind of is. If you talk about babies is something that you care about a lot. I am not the designer of the game. The designers are Tony Miller and John Prather, but I am the developer of the game. So I saw them playing at a couple conventions and I played it with them, and I then signed it about 6 or so months ago, and since then I've been working, like, I've played it so many times, like, just iterating and making it, like, really amazing.
Awesome. So what about Fire in the Library caught your eye? Like, you obviously you saw it a bunch of times, but they didn't just wear you down Steve Urkel style. Like, they had to have, like, what about it was interesting?
So we can first talk about, like, what kind of games I make, and I make games that are like an hour, they're complicated. I do not make pressure luck games. Okay, that's not the thing I do. That's normally not the game I play. Like, if you're like, hey, let's play a pressure luck game where you just roll dice, like zombie dice, I'm like, but we could play something else. Anything else than that. So I'm not a pressure luck person, but I was friends with Tony and John, and I saw them at different conventions and pitching to people, and the line that they'd usually get would be like, hey, Fire in the Library is great, but we already have a push your luck game. So, like, after hearing that quite a few times, I was like, well, Weird Giraffe Games doesn't have a push your luck game, and it's not like I'm going to create it, so I might as well sign this one. But it's not just that. It did fit in our lineup because I wanted Weird Giraffe Games to have, like, a good library and variety of games. But it was also the theme. Like, I really like libraries, and having a fire in the library I thought was cool. One thing that the game did have that it still has now is the escalating mechanic of the library burning. Because, with fires, when the fire starts, it starts off slow. And it's not doing that much. It doesn't hurt you that bad, and you can work around it. But as the game progresses, it starts increasing, and there's more fire until everything collapses. So I always thought that was really cool, where if you weren't like paying attention to what you were doing, you could just escalate the fire and then trigger the end game where everything starts burning.
Okay. I mean, seems kind of dark.
Well, I guess fire is not dark. It's very bright.
It's very bright.
But yes, that was a bad joke.
No.
But,
No. That was a brilliant joke. Don't hate. That was a brilliant joke.
So
to
one
steal
thing.
Stephen's word, that joke was fire.
Oh, damn, Rob. No, that was bad. That was bad.
So,
and you should feel bad.
So one thing I did do with the game, so as a publisher, when you sign a game, you don't have to keep the theme. So I went through these different exercises on what the theme should be because, books, like, I love books, but books are kind of nerdy. They don't appeal to everyone. So I was, like, going down different paths on what you could save, and just that path of where my mind went was just so dark. Like, I think my favorite ideas that I had were that you're saving astronauts in space. But, if you don't save that astronaut in space, they suffocate alone. But another idea I had was that you were collecting wildlife in the safari, like giraffes and elephants, and if you got one jungle cat and put it in its pen, it was okay. But if you put two jungle cats together, they were gonna murder everything. Which, like, I didn't want children to cry, because I feel like if children were playing that game and all the zebras got mauled, that would be
bad. It would be bad. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Children's games, you don't need to kill furry animals.
So yeah, fire in the library, like, it's bad. Like, you're losing knowledge, but you're not, like, losing people or fuzzy animals. You're losing books. It's emotional, but not too emotional.
So normally I always ask, like, why the designer, did they ever tell you like why they decided to make this game in the first place? Like, I know why you liked it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you wanted to diversify a little bit. But could you tell me the story as to why they made this? Because as designers, they could make anything. And yet they decided to make a game about burning a library down.
So I know exactly why. Tony, he was designing a game. He was thinking about the pressure luck. And he was on the internet, and he came across this meme. And the meme was, you know that you're a real nerd if you're still angry about the fire in the Library of Alexandria. So he saw that, and it was like, yes, make a game about the fire in the Library of Alexandria, because he got really mad about it. So that proved he was really a nerd. But a nerd in a good way, because he made this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am a fan, even though I have not played it. So, tell me, how does a basic round in Fire in the Library play? Like, let's say the three of us were sitting down to play. Kind of how, in general, would it work?
So the first thing you do in Fire in the Library is select turn order. And turn order is selected where the person that has the least number of points, they get to decide where they're going in order. And order is very important. So the first person that's into the library, they're going really fast. They're not paying that much attention. They're being a little risky. But if you're the first one in to save books, you are super brave, and you get extra points for bravery. So in the last person into the library, they don't get that many points for bravery because, you're the last person to save books. But they do get an easier time because they took their time, so they have more safe spaces on their turn order card. How the turn order card works is you can get one fire token in a safe space, but if you get 2 total fire tokens or a fire token in a risky space, you burn books. Okay, so once turn order is chosen in reverse score order, then the first player goes. And the first player takes the library bag and starts pulling out tokens. So they can choose to leave the library at any time. And if they choose to leave, they take the books that they've saved, and they score them based on the current values in the library. And the library starts off with each book being worth between 1 and 4 points. But as the game goes on and you burn things, every time you burn a book of a certain color, that book becomes worth 1 more. And you also add in fire tokens as you burn things. So if you end up leaving the library, you score points. But if you press your luck too much, you'll get those 2 fire tokens or a fire token in a risky space. And every book that you have at that time burns. So the game starts off, and there are 7 fire tokens in the bag and 22 books, which, is a pretty good chance that you're going to save a lot of books. But as things get burnt, it can get up to 17 fire tokens for 22 books. So it's about even whether you're going to get a fire token or a book token. But one of the really interesting things about the game is that you have tools at your disposal. And how you gain tools is you gain tools either when you burn as a catch-up mechanic to, you don't get any points this turn, but you get this tool and hopefully you'll do better next time. Or if you leave the library before becoming risky, that gives you the extra time to grab a tool. And tools can do a variety of things. The bucket is the easiest tool, where the bucket, if you start a fire, you can just put it out with the bucket. It's easy peasy. And then you can choose to either continue searching for books or to leave the library. There's other tools like the gloves, where the gloves will make all your spaces safe spaces, which is pretty cool, especially in the when you're trying to not be so risky. But you still get the bravery points for going first if you're using it as first. There's things like the slingshot, and the slingshot works so say you've lit something on fire, but you have a slingshot, so you slingshot away the fire and your most valuable book to another player, and then they have to deal with the fire on their turn. So there's a number of things to try to mitigate your luck and change the probabilities of what's in the bag. Oh,
So you could basically fling burning books at other people.
yeah,
That's
but it's
awesome.
to protect your books. So we're not exactly great librarians. If we were all really good at being librarians, this would be a co-op game. But it's not. It's definitely a competitive game. And then, so once every player has taken their turn order and either saved books or caused things to burn, what nobody actually dealt with was the problem, which was the fire in the library. So another section of the library burns at the end of the round. So the game ends actually when an entire section of the library burns. So the game will end sooner if players are just repeatedly burning books. But it will end regardless because the library at the end of the round continues to burn and introduces more fire tokens to the bag and makes it all riskier as the game goes on. Well, and the worth of the books goes up. Like, as I said, they start off between 1 and 4, but at the end of the game, they're all worth 7. So even if you start off and you're not doing so good, it's basically always possible to catch up just by using the right combination of tools.
Okay. Cool. I mean, looking at the... So I have a feeling I would be... So, can you win being super conservative, or do you really have to, like, lean into it? Because the issue we run into with Push Our Luck games is, like, you know, between, like, me and my kids, one of my kids basically just always goes full tilt until he busts, like, every turn. And then another one of my kids, like, is the kind of kid that'll get, like, one brain in zombie dice and just bank it. And just, you know. So is the game balanced so that you can kind of take your different strategies, or do you just have to go one way or the other? What do you think?
I think it's balanced. So if you want to be safe the entire time, you tend to not get as many books. But you do gain tools, and you can use these tools to make, like, going first more safe than it otherwise would be. Like, you can gather up tools and have, like, a truly epic turn and not have it be risky because you had so many turns that were safe and gave you tools to all use up at the same time. If you do press your luck all the way every time, you can actually only save up to 5 books per turn. Like, you can't continuously, like, keep going into the library until you burn stuff. So being, like, super pressure luck every time, you tend not to win, but, like, you can win at the same time if you do it, like, if you stop at the right times. Like, yeah, but I've seen people that just, you know, draw the entire time and they don't do that bad. They can win.
All right. I like it. What do you have any questions, Rob?
My main question would be is about how long does a game take to play?
It's about 30 minutes. The solo mode is much shorter. It's about 15, but typically, like, the 2 to 6 player game is about 30 minutes.
That's like a sweet spot for my kids. So that's awesome.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, the whole half hour thing is, like, any longer than that, and it has to be, like, really. It has to, like, it. Yeah, it basically needs to serve cake at the end in order to keep the kids, like, super involved.
Right.
Because you know, I mean, it's just that kind of thing. And man, like, we did struggle with that a little bit with some of our more recent games. I went and got some heavier stuff. My oldest son keeps grabbing my copy of Civilization: A New Dawn, and he's like, "Hey, can we play that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." With your attention span, no way. But this sounds perfect in that, you know, it's a half hour, which is just enough time. And I like, so it's up to 6 players, right? That's what it says on the campaign page.
It does. Yes, because that's true. That's why it says that.
Well, hey, listen. I phrased my question awkwardly, but that's okay. That's what I do. Just about everything awkwardly. Just ask my wife. She's normally on here. So, the question that I have So is it balanced across the different players? I know I'm asking the publisher, so you're probably going to say yes, but did you have to work extra? Like, did it start as a game that was kind of balanced from 1 to 6 players, or like how did all that come about?
So no, it did not start off as 1 to 6 players. It started off as 2 to 5. And one thing about Weird Giraffe games is that when I say the player count, I say the player count, and I'm serious that you're good for 1 to 6. Like, one of my pet peeves is that I like playing games at 6 players. That's 3 couples. I get to, like, I know a lot of people do 4 because it's 2 couples, but I like to see more people. And the worst thing ever is getting a game that says 6 players and then playing it and being like, did they even play this at 6 players? Like, sometimes I think that. And so I never wanted to publish a game like that. So I've played it many times at 6. And actually, the 6-player games are sometimes the most fun of all the player counts. Well, just because there's so many different players and player types, and like it gets so so the game ends immediately when any one section of the library burns down. So when there's 6 players, there's 5 people that could be in the way of you saving books, and it gets super tense. So yes, 6 players, it definitely works out well. And I had to work with things, and there was a bunch of iteration on the turn order cards. The first thing I did was try to make them flippy. So like there was one side for one player account and one side for the other. But then people would forget and flip them the wrong way, and there was confusion. So that didn't work. I tried other things with that. But the game also works as a solo game. I really like designing solo modes for games, so I like that about it. The solo mode is very easy, simple. How it works is you have all the turn order cards, and you choose which one you want to play, and then you play that one, and if you burn, then the AI just scores the largest or the highest valued book. But if you don't burn, you flip over a tool, and the tool cards have icons on them, and it tells you what the AI scores and what the AI burns. So the solo is very quick, simple. It's about 15 minutes. There are changes for the 2 and 3 player games because I want to give the full experience to 2-player, like when you're playing with 2 players, and that's a lot of people actually. It's like a lot of parents that like they only get to play games when their kids go to bed, so they play a lot of 2-player games. So the difference for that one is that you add in an additional turn order card to give you a wider range of different, you use the first through third, so it makes it a little different.
Sure. Okay. And I appreciate that as someone who, likes to play games when my children go to sleep, because that is some of the only time that my wife and I get to play games, when we're not, being inundated with the troops, as it were. So fair enough. I will say, I'm a huge fan of the box for this game. I know normally praise for the box is kind of like, like, what are you doing, Steve? But I mean, it looks like a book, which I think is kind of thematically appropriate. When did you get the idea for that? Because you are...
That was, like, immediate. Like, I mean, it's a game about books, so why not book box? But there's been, like, a couple of Kickstarters and stuff that have done book box, and it just makes sense. And also, like, Beth did just fantastically well. Like, she sent me the illustration for it, and I was like, yes, that's it. That's perfect. You're brilliant. Let's keep going with that idea.
I have to agree. It is a really nice looking box. I don't think you're crazy, Steven, for praising a box.
I mean,
and now the box is a magnet box.
Oh, is that a stretch goal?
Yeah, that's a stretch goal we hit.
Nice. So let's talk about that. So how many stretch goals did you have planned before the Kickstarter went live?
I'm not exactly sure. I think about 10 of them.
Oh, all right.
So about 10 when it went live, but then it started doing really well, and I was like, whoa, we might be getting enough money that we can do some crazy stuff. And so my last week has been getting quotes and stuff for like the more interesting things. So one thing in particular that I'm really excited about that I haven't actually posted on the Kickstarter page or anywhere or talked about. This is a scoop, the first time I'm talking about it. So we have an Ultra Edition that has like a bag that I sew myself to have this fire bag. And the base game just has a plain black bag. But the stretch goal is to put the fire bag into the base game. And then, so you can't have the same...
Wait, hold on. You're going to make all those bags? There's no way.
Oh, no.
I was about to say. Damn,
I am not that good at sewing, okay? Like, when I sew in a straight line.
All right. Listen, I was afraid for you, but now I feel much better. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to pay my manufacturer to do that. That was actually a crazy more expensive than you would think it was. But... okay, so we can't have like the Ultra being the same as the base game. So I've talked to Geekcraft, and they are most likely going to be making the bag for the Ultra Edition, which will be like have you heard of Geekcraft?
No, but the internet has. I'm gonna go look right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Geekcraft does these really fancy like bags with lining that are reversible, and I think it'll be super fancy. So yes, and that will hopefully also be an add-on, so you can get your fancy library and fire bag to do what you want. Make it a dice bag, if you want a fiery library dice bag. I mean, who doesn't like books, really? So I am super excited about that one.
That sounds pretty awesome. I did go to Geekcraft, and they have an X-Men bag, and I think I need to get the X-Men bag. I have a problem.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh man,
they're nice.
Man, you just basically sent my house a bill. I mean, I guess the good news is that I get stuff out of it, but I'm gonna not look at that page before I spend even more money. So. The one kind of last question that I have, and I try to ask this of everybody. So, while playtesting this game, everybody has like patch rules, right? Like, so tell me a story about a time you guys were playtesting this game and things just got sideways, so you had to just change a rule on the spot. Do you have one of those moments, or was this game just done well before you got it?
I think it was just done well before I got it, but I do have a story about UnPub this weekend.
Sure.
Where, so I was playing with this group, and this is a competitive game, okay? It's competitive. But players, it was a 6-player game, and they started playing it cooperatively, and I was like, what is going on? Like, they're helping out each other, they're trying to save the library together. I didn't stop it because I was like too fascinated by the whole like experience of it, but it gave me this idea that I really want to follow up on, which is to make kind of like a legacy version of Fire in the Library that is co-op. And so during that playtest, I had in some expansion tools, and the expansion tools are all weird and slightly unbalanced as of now. But it was like, okay, so I take all the tools that they used to be, like, they kind of changed them to be cooperative versus the competitive that I thought that they were, okay, and make the cooperative, either standalone game or expansion of Fire in the Library, because it had always been, like, I'd never seen people try to save each other.
I mean, it's funny that you phrase it that way. Like, I've never seen people try to save each other. But, I can imagine that the right group of people would be like, you know what, let's try and subvert this and try and see if they can save the whole library. I think that's kind of interesting. I kind of wish I was there to see your reaction to that, because I bet you that your mind started going a mile a minute, being like, what the hell are these guys doing? And as someone who regularly works with children, I'll tell you, that's the story of my life. Because normally it's just like, what are you doing? Why are we doing this? And then you just kind of got to roll with it. I started streaming Hearthstone on my Facebook page the other day with my daughter because she likes watching it, and she was super excited. And then she just bounced right in the middle of it, and I was like, well, I guess I'm streaming by myself. It's like, what are you kids doing? So anyway, Carla, thank you so much for coming on our show today. You have been a treat, and thank you for talking about your Kickstarter. Is there anything that you want to say that we have not asked, now that I've been bothering you for about an hour?
I don't know, just
you're allowed to say, go back my damn game on Kickstarter. That's okay. You can do that.
well, I won't say go back it. I would say, like, hey, please go check it out. It's on fireinthelibrary.com. It's a pressure luck game that's easy to learn. It has increasing intensity, and if you like AIs, it has an AI variant, and it's actually good from all player counts. Like, I swear it, I love it at every player count, even solo. And I'm not a solo player, but I do like playing this one solo. It's weird. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. And it's also beautiful. Like, Beth Sobel is a fantastic, fantastic person and artist, and she's, like, taken the tools. Like, you would think, like, Carla, why are you talking about illustrations of tools? How pretty can a bucket be? And I'm like, okay, you haven't seen this bucket. It is beautiful.
That's a beautiful bucket. Well, fair enough.
It is. So, yes.
All right, so that's not as aggressive as I expected, but it's not a hard pitch, but you're gentle. You're pleasant. I will say it because I'm abrasive. Everyone, go back this game. It's inexpensive as all get out. I mean, what is it? It's 20.
It's 19.
It's 24
it's 19
bucks
plus,
shipped, right?
Yeah, in the US.
Yeah, in the US. Most of our listeners are US based.
There's also, so it's ages 8+, but there is a tiny gamer variant, and what I mean by tiny gamer are the younger ages.
Oh, yeah? Tell me about it.
Yes. Okay, so in that one, tiny gamers, they are too busy to, read words and stuff like that, deal with tools. You just take the tools out of the game, and they get to save as many books or burn as many as they want. And you get an additional point if every time when something burns you go, burn! So, that's the tiny gamer variant.
Okay. All right, so now I'm officially sold. I want to play the tiny gamer variant among adults. Rob, welcome back. Listeners, Rob abandoned us for a few seconds. I think he just got tired of me. So man, how did I not know that there was a tiny gamer variant? I'm super excited. So because there are a lot of games that my youngest wants to play, but she just can't. So, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I keep trying to shut it off, and you keep coming up with, like, awesome news and stuff to say. So, Rob says goodbye, everybody, but he's having issues with his internet. For those of you wondering, he runs A Pawn's Perspective. You can go to pawnsperspective.com and find him all over the Facebook. Rob, you there?
Something happened to my connection.
Here I was signing off for you. Rob, where can people find you on the internet?
At pawnsperspective.com or A Pawn's Perspective on Facebook or Perspective Pawn on Twitter because somebody beat me to Pawn's Perspective on that.
All right. You couldn't just do pawn_perspective?
I probably could if I was thinking straight, but,
Man, well,
I don't think that far ahead.
You can change your username. You should do that. Anyway, I'm not telling you what to do, but come on. Come on. So, Carla, where can people find you on the internet if they want to talk to you about your Kickstarter game?
Okay, so I am basically everywhere. On Twitter, I'm at Weird Giraffes. On Facebook, I am Weird Giraffe Games. And I'm the same on Instagram. I'm also Carla Kopp on Facebook. I have a website. It is weirdgiraffegames.com. And you can just go straight to the Kickstarter page at fireinthelibrary.com. Oh, and my email is contact@WeirdGiraffeGames if you are less social media, more just direct email.
Sure.
And feel free to contact me about board games or, talk about publishing, design, whatever. I love talking about board games and stuff, which is why I go on podcasts. So feel free to contact me.
For real, folks, she didn't come on here because I'm, nice. She came on here because she really just was desperate to talk to more people about board games after doing it for, 36 hours at unPub. It's not about me. Anyway. So, everybody, if you're listening, you probably know me. But I run EngageFamilyGaming.com. It's a website on the internet where we provide information for families looking for video games, board games, etc. You can find us at EngageFamilyGaming.com. You can find us on Facebook at Engage Family Gaming. Just put Engage Family Gaming into a social media profile, into a social media search bar. You'll probably find us. We're also on the YouTubes. That's important because that's where we're going to start seeing some of our Hearthstone content. And my wife is working on a Minecraft video series for moms so that moms can understand the weird stuff that their kids have been talking about. Also, I have a parent's perspective of Fortnite coming, so you may want to check that out. Other things that are worth mentioning, if you live in Connecticut, I will be speaking at the Meriden Public Library and giving a crash course on video games. You want to know why your kids play video games as much as they do? I will tell you why, and I will tell you why that's probably not as much of a problem as you think it is. Be prepared for me to tell you not to use the word addiction as often as you do. And we're also going to be talking about alternatives to super violent kid favorites like Call of Duty World War II. I'm going to make some suggestions so that you can say yes to your children as opposed to saying no until you cry and give in. So that has been episode 124 of Engage a Family Gaming Podcast. I do hope that you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week with some video game talk. We're going to be talking about some nindies, so that's going to be a wild ride. Until next time, this is Steven and Carla and Rob signing off, and don't forget to get your family game on. We'll see you later. Yay!
Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Engage, a family gaming podcast.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week.